Hello, this is a website audit by Simon Kensington of Kensington SEO for the Woolpack in Bar and Grill iSlip. I've been asked to just give the site a quick look over to see if there are any issues with regard to SEO. And the first thing that I usually look at is answering three questions. So, what is it? The what's it about and what's in it for me. These are the sorts of things that a visitor will want to know pretty quickly when they hit the site. So I'm going to go through some of those answers, then we'll look at some kind of general conversion rate optimization issues, then look at some technical issues, and we'll finish off with some legal issues that may impact the site. So looking at what we've got here, it is a bar and grill, a restaurant. It has accommodation, and they're looking at offering weddings and room for hire, that kind of thing. I have visited the establishment, so I know that it is a very nice, recently renovated pub. Looking at the home page though, it does look, if I can say, a bit higgledy-piggledy. The venue itself is a very nice, clean, sophisticated looking kind of modern establishment. I don't know that that's necessarily reflected in the website. It just seems a bit kind of stuffed, have been added on, and it looks a bit disjointed. And I know one of the things that's really important for restaurants, for pubs, entertainment places, is how well they show up on mobile. And I have had a look at this on a mobile device. It's a large iPhone. And one of the things that strikes me straight away is the questions that I would want to have answered as a mobile user aren't answered. And that is, when I say they're not answered immediately. And that is, what are your opening hours? What kind of food do you do? Where are you? And how do I find you? And what are your reviews? And none of those things can I see on my mobile phone without scrolling a considerable amount. And really, even on a desktop, I'd want to have answers to some of those questions, perhaps not with the same urgency as I would with a mobile. But again, I can't find those without scrolling all the way down. We've got a big logo heading up here, and then we've got this big slider here that doesn't click anywhere. I can't click it, it doesn't do anything. It is just a series of images. And as a visitor, if I'm not staying in here, then this image of accommodation, nice as it is of no value to me whatsoever.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
Oh, excuse me, Siri's just decided to interrupt us. And so really, sliders have become all the rage, but they really are, unless done kind of properly and with some conversion kind of boxes in them, they really are a bit of a waste of what is the prime real estate on your website. So we've got here, I've got a 24-inch monitor, and so it's a pretty big screen, and all I can see is the logo and some pictures. So I would question whether or not that's the best use of the screen display there. Moving on, we've got a little bit of a description about the place. It could probably do with a little bit more information, depending on kind of what I was searching for. But we've got some links here that take us to other places on the website, which is good. Again, these things you could probably do with a bit more text to describe perhaps what's on these elements here. Certainly from a SEO point of view, the more text you've got, the more chance that you will have of being found in Google for your preferred search terms. We've got a couple of items here. One, we can book a table, it's always handy, and room availability, that's good. Link to upcoming events, I clicked on that, and sadly it doesn't appear to be any upcoming events, which is, there should be something there. Otherwise people are going to think either the page is broken, or you just haven't got any events, you haven't got any planned. So I would either take that page away until you've got events to put in here, or at least put something in here saying that you are going to be adding some events in the coming weeks. These are the sorts of events that you'll be looking to have. So that will cover up that issue. Looking down at the bottom, we've got a pretty large footer which has all the sorts of information that I would want to find at the top, or at least some of it at the top. And as a mobile user, I don't really want to have to scroll all the way down to the bottom just to see this really important information. And so I would at least try and put some of this at the top. I mean, if you moved this logo and made it a smaller logo, you could have some information at the top there. Looking at an example I've got here, the pheasant. Now at the top here, not necessarily the best website in the world, but from a mobile point of view, they've got all of the information that I need as a visitor at the top of the page. They've got their location, they've got a telephone number, and so I can find all of those things really, really quickly. So going back here, down here we've got a click to download our menus, but that isn't actually what happens. It takes me to the menus page, where I need to scroll again all the way down to the bottom before I get the menus that I can then see either by downloading them or on my phone or something. So that can perhaps be tidied up so it's not as misleading. So that's really where we are from the home page. Now there's a few issues from a legal point of view, business point of view, that need to be addressed. One of them is cookie law. There is no pop-up here for accepting cookie law, and from 2011 all countries in the EU, and of course this may change, but we'll see what happens with Brexit, but for the time being all websites in the UK should have, or business websites should have, a pop-up with the opt-in for cookies. You've probably seen it on most websites. They're really annoying, I know, but they're there because you have to have them. So that needs to be looked into. You can get a plugin for the WordPress site that this site's built on, and in sort of 5 minutes that could be done and dusted. And the other thing is that as a business there are a number of other things that you are legally required to have on the site, and depending on what sort of business depends on which of these is valid. So if it, for example, is a limited company or part of a limited company, then the company information needs to be on the website. Again, you need to have the cookie law, and you need to have things like terms and conditions, privacy policies, those kind of things that you'll tend to see on most business websites, but they're missing as far as I can see on this site. So to kind of tick those legal boxes, you really do need to make sure that you have those in place. And again, there are some templates that you can get from a web designer. You just need to customize those depending on the situation, you may want to, of course, take legal advice. I'm not a lawyer in these issues, but so you may want to take your own legal advice as to what exactly you need to have on the site to comply with the various legislations and exactly what those documents need to contain. Right, looking at the on page, we can see that we have got, let me just click my box here. Right, we have got the basic on page elements here. So the URL, let's just go back to the home page. So on the URL we have got, which is this title up here. First thing I notice, it's not secure, and you'll notice here that you've got this exclamation mark. It won't be for long before Google actually issues a warning that this site is not secure. Now, secure websites have been around since the dawn of the internet, and it's never been a huge problem unless you're using financial transactions, etc. But there is a move now to make sure that all websites are secure and that data that goes from the website to the server is encrypted. And the way that you do that is by putting a SSL onto your website, which then changes your website from an HTTP to an HTTPS, and then you get the little green padlock that pops up in the top here, which then means that you don't get this warning. So again, with a WordPress website, it's relatively straightforward to do that. You can use something called Let's Encrypt, which will enable you to do it for free. If you use a content distribution network, which I'll come on to a little bit later, to speed up your website, you can use something like Cloudflare, which again doesn't cost anything and will provide you with a free SSL certificate. So there are lots of options that you can do. So that's a priority, is looking at making this a secure website. Looking at the page analysis, we've got the page title. This page title is probably the single biggest factor on influencing how you get found on the web. So this is an opportunity to put in the right sort of keywords that you want to be found. So you've got brand name, and then you've got some keywords, which is fine. Dependent on what you want to be found for, might be that you want to jiggle around with this to make it better. And we can certainly perhaps look at the other pages and play with their page titles to make those more specific to the actual content of the page. Meta description, this is good that we've got some. We can add a few more words in here if we needed to. There is an upper limit, but we've got some room to squeeze something else in here. And this is, although it doesn't really have any impact on search, what it does do is this is what shows up in the search results. So if we had a quick look here, this is the sort of thing, this is your meta description. This is your little advert that will determine whether or not someone clicks on your website or somebody else's in the search listings. So making this as compelling with a call to action is important. Meta keywords, that's good. There aren't any. We don't want to use those anymore. H1 tags. This is probably the second behind the page title important place to put the keywords that you want to be found for. So here we've got a repeat of the page title pretty much, which is best practice. Again, you might want to change those up a little bit to make them more, to tighten them up for the search you want to be found for. Things like welcome to, you don't really need that as an H1 tag. So having your keywords and location might be a better bet there. H2 tags, these are good. It's good to have, you can have multiple H2 tags. And again, you want some keywords and what are known as synonyms, different variations of your keywords in there. So these are all fairly good. And And now we've got no italics and bold. It would be good to add some italics. And here we've got some bold, but they're not really bolding our keywords. So for these bolds and italics, we want to bold and italicize our main keywords that we want to be found for. So I think this is probably more aesthetic than actually SEO driven. Here we've got some alt text. This is the words that are used to describe the images. So it's good that we have those images with their alt text, which is great. Now moving on, we've got a load time here of 4.77 seconds. Anything over sort of 2.5 is slow these days. So there's either an issue with the hosting, maybe it's using kind of shared hosting, or it's something to do with the way the site's built in terms of the images, the way that it's perhaps not optimized, and we can look at that shortly. And I can tell you more about why it's running slowly there. Now this is really good. The Google or Moz is saying that, which is a ratings agency, if you like, or a ratings site, saying that your domain has got an authority of 17. That is, by way of things, hundreds the highest, but 17 for a local business like this is very good. And a page authority of 31 again is very good. So that means that you've got a good deal of trust with Google, and these scores will help you to outrank your competitors, which is good news. Markup. There's an opportunity nowadays to use something called structured data, and this enables you to put some code in your website which tells Google exactly what it is that your site is about, so that you can tell it that this is a pub, you can tell it that it's a restaurant, you can tell it even things like, I think you can do things like marking up your menu items. You can certainly mark up your reviews, so that when I see on one of the other pages you've got some reviews, I think it was the wedding page, you can see that Google can understand what those reviews are, and when you mark them up with the code, you then get the stars in the search engine results. So when you see, like here, these stars here, this is from TripAdvisor because they're using that review markup on their site. So you can get those stars on your own site when you use review markup, which is important. Go back to the site. So we need to put some markup on there, and this is just saying that the site is loading okay, which is good. So let's just, that was your menu. So we look at page speed. Now this, I was talking about your page loading slowly. Well, from a mobile point of view, it is judged as poor. Now the reason why this is doubly important to get this fixed is that Google is moving over this year to judging a website's position in the search engines by how good its mobile version of its site is. So it's something called mobile first, and they will be looking at your mobile version of your website, and they will be judging that, and that will determine not only how you rank in the mobile directory, so when people are using their smartphones and tablets and things, but also when they're on a desktop. And as you can see here, it's pretty poor. Now there's a lot of images on your site, and the chances are there probably isn't much in the way of compression, which is a plugin that you can have on your WordPress website, which will just kind of shrink the images down a little bit. The best way to do it is to make sure that they are the right size, that they've been resized and shrunk before they go up onto the website. Now when I mean shrinking, what I mean is by not necessarily making them physically any smaller, but if you can imagine that they weigh a lot, then what we're doing is we're taking out some of the weight so that they don't take as long to download, but they look pretty much identical. So you don't lose the quality, but you lose the weight so that the page loads faster. There's some issues here with some of your a couple of things that you can do with the code to make it smaller. You can do what's called minifying, and that takes out basically all of the spaces and the unnecessary bits and pieces out of your code to make it load faster. And you can do something called browser caching, and I mentioned this about with Cloudflare, which is a service where you can get a version of your website on the web on a really fast server so that it loads a lot quicker. And things like Cloudflare, I mentioned earlier, are free. And you can also get plugins that do a similar thing on your website. So you might like to get a plugin like Fastest Cache or W3 Cache. There are a couple that come to mind. So you can add those to your site, and that will help to make your page load faster. And from the desktop, we are not far off being much better there. So you need to look at how the page is optimized to make it load quicker. Looking at the structured data that I mentioned, you've got website structured data. That's fine. What I would suggest is that you add in specific structured data in using JSON code for either a local business or as a professional service or as a restaurant. There's an actual markup that you can use so that Google knows exactly what your business is about. And in this markup you can include things such as the description of your business. You can add in there the exact phone numbers to use. You can add in there your location, your address, your geo coordinates. You can add in there even things like your other social properties such as your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, your Pinterest, whatever it might be, so that Google knows that there is a link between your site and those other social sites. So when somebody does something on Facebook, Google will know that that's actually related to your business. One of the things that you'll notice is that you'll start to get, if you've got the reviews on Facebook, that they will start to come across in here. This is your Google My Business, and in here you'll start to see if you link up your other properties such as your TripAdvisor, your Facebook and stuff, you'll start to see those reviews coming in here as well, which is all additional social proof. It's all right saying you've got 70 reviews here, which is great, but having reviews on other sites or from other sites show up really helps to build that trust and the site's authority. So using structured data to mark up is really important these days. Where are we going? We're looking at getting links from other sites is important to build the trust to your own site. So what I've done here is I've just done a search to look at links on other websites, and those other sites are things like the directories like Thompson, like Yale.com, TripAdvisor, Yelp, those kind of things. And what I found here, now go back a step, for these to be of any real value to your business, they need to have exactly the same information in terms of the name of the business, the address of the business, and the phone number and the website. It's NAPW is the acronym: name, address, phone number and website. And those details need to be matching exactly on your website and all of these other sites. So if we look quickly back here, one of the things that we notice is this is how you've got your address on your website. And then if you notice, this is how Google sees your address. So it doesn't have the Kettering, the Northants bit in there. And so you can see here. Now I know, having had a business in Islip and living locally, that the actual postal town is Kettering and not Islip. So you need to make sure, and they've got RD here for road. So you need to make sure that this is identical on your website. So that's how you should lay out your address So it'd be 6 Kettering RD, and then Kettering Road, and then Kettering, and then the postcode. So it looks like that. Making sure the telephone number is the same. And so when we go back to the location data here, we can start to see, I know there's a couple of listings here that aren't yours, but we can see that there are so many different variations in terms of the business name. This is how Facebook has your business name and address. So we can see it's listed as the Woolpack in Islip. The address here, this is different again to what's on your website, and it's again different to what Google has as your listing. Here on Foursquare, again, different business name, different address. Here, different address, different business name, and so on. So again, 192, different blah, blah, blah. So you need to go through and repair these basically. So we've got different name again here, so that the name, address, phone number and website details are identical. So once you've gone through and repaired those, then I would go through and I would look to add some of these new properties to your website. So for example, you can go to Maps, the Apple Maps, get your business registered on there. This is vital because Siri on iPhones and iPads uses Apple Maps to get their location and local area data. So adding your business there will help you to be found on Apple devices. Bing, the search engine, we need to make sure that you claim your local business on Bing, and then you will show up for the Bing search engine, which is obviously Microsoft's preferred search engine, but also all of the other devices and softwares and that use the Bing directory, like I believe Amazon and the new Amazon Echo, Alexa, they use the data from Bing to be able to provide their local data. So registering with these sites not only helps to confirm to Google that your business is legitimate and where it is, and it also helps you to connect with these other services that have got local data. So again, you can go through, these are just, you can rank them by authority. So you've got here, these are the top kind of 10 or 15 that I would do. And really the way I would attack this is just to do 3 or 4 of these a week over a period of a couple of months, just gradually kind of filling them in. And when you fill them in, you need to make sure that you provide not only all of the detail in terms of the correct name, address, phone number and website details, but also other things like your description. You're adding up lots of photos where you can, adding video where you can, so that these profiles are all filled out as fully as possible. And the same can go for your Google Maps listing. You can go through there and make sure that you add as many photos and videos. We've got a good number here, but you can always keep adding them, and video as well is important. So those are the things that I would look at on those. Looking here at things like rooms, just quickly going through these because you'll kind of get to see the thing. We've got here bed and breakfast accommodation near Kettering, A14 junction 12. Yeah, that's reasonably good as a search. I would perhaps look at and see if you how else that you might use the word accommodation. Is there other things that people are going to be searching for? You can put a lot more information here. You can make sure that your H1 tags, H2 tags and stuff are all properly set up. Weddings, again, a similar sort of thing. Making sure if you want to be found for these things, then they really need to be almost like a mini website in themselves. So we've got here, let's just have a quick look at this and see what we've got on here. So we've got a page title, Weddings at the Woolpack in Islip. there's an opportunity there to really push that you're a weddings venue rather than just weddings at the Woolpack Inn. So we can rejig that. There's no meta description. The H1 could be more keyword relevant to what you want to be found for. H2 tags, these again are different variations of your keywords, all looking at, they should be looking at addressing the fact that you are offering wedding venues, and these don't reflect that at all. Again, the bold and italic, these are opportunities for you to reinforce that this is a weddings venue, so they need to be looked at. And we've got here an awful lot of alt text from all of these images that has just got image number. That's pretty bad as well. So with all of these images, you've got an opportunity to optimize those for search, which is what I would be doing. Again, markup, we've got no markup on here saying that this is a wedding venue. We spoke earlier about the review markup. We can change that on here. So that's some information about that page there. Local places to visit. This is a good way of giving some local information. But what I would do here is, rather than just make it a list which isn't really useful for anybody, is to actually take a moment to find out some more information about what these places are and write up a paragraph about them. Even link back to those to the websites for these places. That way you will get some relevance from Google, and you can also approach these venues and say, look, we've put together a page all about local events and activities to do in the area. Please would you link to our website as offering the sorts of things, food, accommodation, etc. So there's an opportunity there to build out this page and really make it something more of it. And again, we've got this upcoming events. It kind of looks a bit sad that there's nothing there. The about page, this is the opportunity to really go ahead and put some more information in here, which is pretty good. Loads and loads of images. You could do with about, some maps. You can embed some Google Maps in here, add some video in here. Rather than all of these pictures, put a little video. It will make the page load quicker and tidy it up a bit as well. And more galleries and contact page. Again, not a great deal going on here. We could put some more information here from an SEO point of view, because this is one of the most important pages for a business like yourself in terms of being found, because this is where your details are of how to get in touch with you and so on. So gives you some things there to think about. So I think that's a fairly comprehensive. I've gone into a lot more detail than I usually would. I usually take about 15 to 20 minutes. I think we've gone up to about 33 minutes. So a proper, fairly full overview of your website. There's lots of issues there that can be addressed that will help you get found better. But the first thing really is to think about who your ideal customer is and what it is that they are going to be searching for, so that you know how to optimize your site to be found by those people who are looking for you, perhaps out of area, looking to come either to stay in one of your rooms or to have a meal, or to look at the place as a possible venue for a wedding, etc. So lots of opportunities here, a few legal things that you ought really to address fairly quickly. So I hope you found that useful. If you need any more advice, just feel free to get in touch.